Well, so I'm generally not one to talk about anything related to the personal lives of creators, of people in Hollywood, of writers, directors, actors, whatever, because by and large I don't care. I mean, I'm not into gossip. I really, truly don't care. But what's come out in, well, at the time I'm recording this, I guess about a day ago, depending on when I get this video up, it might have been a couple days. What's come out from Joss Whedon's ex-wife in regards to things that went on in their marriage that led to their divorce. I don't know. The thing is, I like so much of what Joss Whedon has done that I feel like, at least for me, for my own peace of mind, I have to talk this through, and I guess you guys are getting brought along for the ride on this. I tend to fall very much in the middle of the overall question and debate of should you separate the artist from the art, and I really do treat it on a case-by-case basis, because I think in many ways you can't and you shouldn't separate the artist from the art, because the artist is why the art exists as it does. To try and go, well, look, don't consider who the artist is at all when assessing a piece of art assumes that art exists in a vacuum. But it's not. It's made by people, and what those people are and what they believe and what they do informs their worldview, informs their creative ideas, informs the art that they create. So I don't, on a basic level, I don't believe in separating the artist from the art. I do try and avoid condemning a piece of art because of issues that I have with the artist, unless the issues that I have directly seeped into the art itself. So, you know, take somebody like H.P. Lovecraft, who wrote some amazing stories, did some amazing, mythology creation, the entire Cthulhu mythos and all that, but at the same time, really racist guy. And again, part of that is a reflection of the time he lived in, and I know there's the whole, don't judge by mud, but even for the time, he was kind of a little bit. But the vast majority of his writing, that doesn't enter into. Where it does enter into it is awkward as heck. But I think a lot of his writing, and I think a big part of the reason why he remains as influential as he is the majority of sort of the seminal pieces of his work aren't steeped in his more egregious beliefs that he happened to have. And I'll also grant these kinds of debates are a lot easier to have when an artist is dead. Because unfortunately, when they're still alive, you run into the additional issue of, by supporting this art, am I financially supporting someone who I find objectionable? I'm rambling about other artists, and I guess I'm just trying to give some context for my own headspace on a lot of this. So if you haven't been following, so Joss Whedon's ex-wife, Kay Cole, basically wrote a column detailing basically about 15 years or so worth of infidelity that he continually engaged in over the course of their marriage, and that apparently he kept from her for quite a while as well. So again, I don't like to delve into artists' personal lives, and having an affair is very much a personal life thing. Like, I wouldn't care if I didn't care when it turned out that Ben Affleck had an affair. It's like, look, that sucks. That sucks for his family, but I don't care. So the question becomes, why is it bothering me, and why do I feel the need to talk about Joss Whedon having an affair, or a series of affairs, as is alleged? And I don't want to get into an argument over whether or not what is being said is true. The statement from Whedon's side of things is there are some inaccuracies in her statement, but he's not outright refuting anything directly, which to me says there's some smoke to this fire. And I don't want to linger on the on a ton on the details of it because I don't think they particularly matter. But the reason that I feel the need to talk about this is because this is a case, I think, where the artist's views, publicly stated views, and the point of view in a lot of his actual art is at odds with his actions. And I think Kay Cole herself actually put it very well, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but she basically said that he betrayed the very feminist ideals that he often says that he stands by the fact that he forced her to be complicit in what he was doing by not telling her for so long. So he continually had affairs, and he took away her choice as to whether or not she wanted to continue to be in a relationship with someone who had issues being faithful. He did not give her that choice. He robbed her of her choice as to whether or not she would stay with him and try and work it out or not by not telling her for as long as he kept it all a secret. And that is more so than just cheating. You know, because cheating, having an affair, and I don't want to hand wave any of that again as, it happens or whatever. Look, but the fact that he had affairs honestly just makes him human, like many people. And again, that is not me excusing anything, but that is me saying that is not an uncommon personal flaw when it comes to people in Hollywood. It's probably the number one most common personal flaw in terms of when relationships break down. But the fact that he was apparently deceitful in it for so long while and taking that choice away from ostensibly the most important woman in his life at the same time as he was oftentimes kind of patting himself on the back about how feminist he was and how feminist his works were, that becomes a problem. And it becomes a very unfortunate one. And it doesn't suddenly make me want to go burn my Buffy DVD set. Because I do believe, especially when it comes to message material, while Hypocrisy is frustrating and disappointing and infuriating, it's also a reality of life. And most people with some form of ideal, whatever that ideal may be, whether it be a feminist ideal or a religious ideal or whatever moral ideal they have, most people do not actually meet their own ideals. I mean, realistically, we don't. Again, we're human. In my mind, it is kind of important to just keep in mind that the messenger being a flawed vessel does not diminish the power of the message. And I think that's where people can often get in trouble and become self-destructive, might be too grand a term for it, but it's kind of the only one I'm hitting on, which is that we tear down a good message because we found out the messenger was not who we thought or not who they claimed to be. But a good message is a good message, and a good message well delivered is a good message well delivered. And my feelings on this may deepen, may get more complicated if and when more details come out in terms of whether or not his affairs, because it's alleged by Kay Cole that he was having affairs with people involved in his shows, and knowing that he was the creator and showrunner for most of these things, that does open up the possibility of him using a position of power as sexual leverage. And we don't know if that's the case, but it's possible that it is. And if that transpires to be the case, that may further complicate my feelings about things. But as it stands right now, I am going to continue to take in and continue to hold in high praise the values and the messages of female empowerment, of the importance of family, of the importance of the family that you choose, i.e. your friends, that are contained in things like Buffy, like Firefly, like Angel. And I'm not at a point personally where I'm going to start boycotting the man's work, because again, I generally don't do that. I mean, Braveheart's still one of my favorite movies. Even after everything that's gone on with Mel Gibson. Still one of my comfort food movies. So, at the moment when I'm recording this, I am angrily disappointed. Again, not because he had an affair. People in Hollywood, people the world over, have affairs. It sucks. It's not okay. But that he would continually and by willful choice live this dual life that very deliberately undermined things that he was putting forward. Not just, I think it's the thing is, it's not just in the shows. Like he would do interviews talking about how important strong female characterization and the representation of strong women and women's rights and all these other things are to him. And I'm not saying that he's a liar, and I don't think that those things aren't important to him, but for him to push that angle so hard while continually engaging in the behavior that he was behaving in and very deliberately undermining the freedom and the choices of who was supposed to be the most important woman in his life, that upsets me more than these sorts of things usually do. To the point that I actually am making a video about it. Because, again, normally I wouldn't talk about this crap. I don't care. But this one, there's just something frustrating about there being a piece of art that you love and you know that you love, and when your ability to love it becomes compromised. And that's a selfish thing. I know that, because I mean the easiest way to avoid that is just stick my fingers in my ears and go la 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 and ignore the real world. And I'm not going to do that. But it's still frustrating and infuriating and disappointing. And it's just not fun to feel that piece of art that means something to you, potentially means a great deal to you, being tarnished by something that you have absolutely no control over. And that sucks. But it's worth remembering that the tarnishment, like the beauty of the art, is in the eye of the beholder. And that it can still be a force for good. And as I said, if and when the next time I watch something made by Joss Whedon, I'll know at that point whether or not what's come out is truly adversely affecting my ability to view things that he has worked on or touched. I don't know that yet, and I'm not going to test it for a while. I want sort of the initial emotions to simmer down a little bit more before I even try. But yeah, Joss Whedon, Geek God, Lightning Rod now. This is not gonna be fun. So, what are your thoughts on all this? I mean, this was a rambly thing. This was basically me kind of just trying to talk this out and exercise demons a little bit. So whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Check me out on Twitter at Council of Geeks. Give a listen to the Council of Geeks podcast, available on iTunes and Stitcher. I'm also one half of the Punch Like a Girl podcast, also available on iTunes and Stitcher. We were going to be covering a volume of Buffy Season 8, the comic book, on that. I might bump that back on the docket for a couple of years. But check that out also on iTunes and Stitcher. And until next time, this council is adjourned.